All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most talked about, most vivid visions in all of ancient scripture. We're talking about the prophecy of the four beasts from the book of Daniel. It's this incredible vision, just packed with symbolism, bizarre creatures, and what some folks believe is a hidden timeline of world history itself. And it all kicks off with this single verse. It's mysterious, right? And four great beasts came up from the sea. It's a cryptic message that has just fascinated people for centuries. Four huge creatures clawing their way out of a stormy sea. What on earth could that possibly mean? That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? And it's exactly what we're going to explore. According to the particular interpretation we're looking at today, this isn't just some strange fever dream. Oh no, it's seen as a highly detailed prophecy about the rise and fall of massive world empires. So, come on, let's see if we can piece this puzzle together. Okay, so to really get a handle on this prophecy, we have to start with its language. It's all symbolic. The interpretation we're following, it basically says that every single element in this vision, every creature, every action, has a very specific, real-world meaning.
And here is our key, our decoder ring, if you will. So in this prophetic language, a beast isn't some literal monster. No, it represents a kingdom, a major political power. The sea is meant to be the world, the chaotic, churning masses of humanity. And the winds that are stirring up that sea, that's seen as divine action, basically God setting history in motion. Once you have this key, the whole vision starts to look less like a fantasy story and a lot more like a political map.
Now this is where it gets really interesting. We're going to see how this interpretive key gets applied to each beast. It's all very systematic, identifying each creature with a specific empire from history. It basically lays out this incredible timeline of who's in charge of the world. Okay, so the first beast that comes out of the water is a lion, but it's not just any lion, right? The vision says it has the wings of an eagle. I mean, think about that combo, the strength of a lion and the speed of an eagle. It's a symbol of pure power and majesty. And boom, here's our first match. This interpretation says that lion is, without a doubt, the mighty Babylonian Empire under King Nebuchadnezzar. And what's really cool is how it connects directly to another one of Daniel's prophecies, where Babylon is shown as a head made of pure gold. So we're already seeing a pattern here. Coming in at number 2 is a bear. And the description is pretty grisly. It's raised up on one side, it's got 3 ribs crunched between its teeth, and a voice tells it to devour much flesh. So a totally different vibe from the lion. Much more, well, brutish. So who's the bear? This interpretation identifies it as the Medo-Persian Empire, the very empire that conquered Babylon. And again, just like with the lion, the source we're looking at connects this bear to that other prophecy, the one with the statue, where Medo-Persia is represented by the chest and arms of silver. See the parallel? Now the third beast is even stranger. It's a leopard, which we all know is fast. But this leopard has 4 wings, which suggests an almost unbelievable speed. And then, here's the really weird part. It has 4 heads. And this is where the interpretation gets incredibly specific, mapping these bizarre details right onto the pages of history. The leopard? That's Alexander the Great's Greek Empire, which famously conquered the known world with lightning speed. And those 4 heads? Well, after Alexander died so suddenly, his empire wasn't passed to one person. It was split up between his 4 main generals. 4 heads, 4 generals. It's a pretty direct parallel. So let's just recap what we've got so far. We see this clear step-by-step succession of power. Babylon gets taken over by Medo-Persia, and then Medo-Persia gets conquered by Greece. According to this view, the prophecy is literally laying out a roadmap of history, one empire after the other. But then comes the 4th beast. And let me tell you, the whole tone of the vision just shifts. It gets dark. Daniel himself says this creature was unlike anything he had ever seen. It was terrifying, dreadful, and just overwhelmingly powerful. This 4th beast is so bizarre, it doesn't even get an animal name. It's just dreadful and strong as iron. And our source identifies this beast as the Roman Empire. That iron imagery is seen as a perfect symbol for Rome's crushing military might, an empire that just shattered every kingdom that stood in its way. The vision goes on to say it had huge teeth of iron, and it just devoured and crushed everything, but it also had 10 horns. Now, according to this interpretation, these aren't literal animal horns. They're symbolic of the 10 kingdoms that would eventually rise out of the ashes of the fragmented Roman Empire. And just when you think you've got it figured out, the prophecy throws another curveball.
After those 10 horns appear, a new one sprouts up, a little horn. But don't let the name fool you. This isn't just another kingdom, it's described as a completely different kind of power, and it becomes the absolute focus of the rest of the vision.
So what is this little horn? Well, the interpretation we're examining makes a very specific and pretty bold identification. It claims this little horn symbolizes the papacy, a religious and political power that grew to have enormous influence after Rome fell. And the source points out that for this power to rise, 3 of those original 10 horn kingdoms, the Heruli, the Vandals, and the Ostrogoths, had to be completely uprooted and destroyed to make way for it. So, you might be asking, why is this little horn so important? I mean, what's the big deal? Well, it's not just about its rise to power. According to the prophecy, it's about what this power does. The text says it speaks great words and that it intends to change times and law. Okay, so what are these great words? This interpretation views them as claims of blasphemy. To be specific, the source argues that this refers to claiming powers and authority that belong only to God. Things like the power to forgive sins, which, it argues, became a central teaching of the papacy. And that leads us to the absolute heart of the conflict in this interpretation. The prophecy says this power will think to change times and laws. The source argues this isn't just about any old law, but a direct attempt to alter what it considers to be divine law itself, specifically the 10 Commandments.
And here is the specific change this interpretation zeroes in on. It argues that the 4th commandment, the one that says to remember the 7th day, Saturday, as the Sabbath, was fundamentally altered. And in its place, Sunday, the first day of the week, was put forward as the main day of worship. This interpretation attributes that massive shift directly to this little horn power.
So, where is all of this going? This interpretation doesn't just look at the past. It sees this prophetic timeline stretching all the way to our time and beyond, leading to this really dramatic conclusion where all human kingdoms are finally brought to an end. And here you can see the whole blueprint laid out. You start with the Lion of Babylon, you move through Medo-Persia and Greece, and you end up with the final human power of Rome and the little horn. But it doesn't end there. The prophecy ends with a brand new symbol, a stone, not cut by human hands, that smashes the final kingdom. And this stone grows into a massive mountain that fills the whole earth. The source identifies this stone as the final eternal kingdom of the Messiah, which will replace all the others. And there you have it. That is one incredibly detailed way of decoding Daniel's vision of the 4 beasts, reading it as a very precise map of world history. It's a really powerful framework, but it's also just one of many ways people have understood this prophecy over the centuries. And that leaves us with a pretty big question, doesn't it? How can the exact same ancient words lead different people to create such different maps of the past, the present, and the future? It's just a fascinating reminder of the enduring power of these texts to shape the way we see our world. Thanks for joining me for this explainer.